everybody. Welcome into the wrestling mat. Hello, how are you? Good to be with you on this Wednesday. I know we said we're going to talk about a lot of other things on this show. We put that aside because I got an email very early this morning that we put out the correspondence, and it worked. So without any further ado here at the wrestling mat, let's see if this works. Can we have Joe Hendry on the wrestling mat right now? Does that work? Oh my God, it worked.
Say his name and he appears.
Joe, thank you so much for being here, sir. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
You're coming off of the greatest concert in WWE history last night. And by far, I will say that I don't care who's done a concert or sat there with a guitar on their leg like that. You did it better than anybody. What does it feel like to be coming off of a concert like that last night in front of the NXT and WWE universe?
I very much appreciate that, but I'll say this. I don't know if anything's going to top that Rock concert in Toronto from The Rock. That's I appreciate the kind words, but, you know, it's maybe one day we'll see a guitar off between myself and the Great One. Who knows? We've already had me versus Elias, but I just got a feeling me and The Rock are going to have to cross paths at some point. But he's still got the number one concert segment.
I got to ask you, though, when all this stuff starts happening, do you let your mind run wild? Do you let your imagination run wild? I've seen you post about John Cena. Do you think like, well, I've come this far. Why can't this happen?
Matt, that's not my imagination. I genuinely believe that will happen. I believe I will have an in-ring interaction with The Rock. I believe I will have a match with John Cena. If I'd have told you 4 months ago, this is where I'd be right now, no one would have believed me, but I did. My team did. Me and my team were talking about this stuff months before it happened. You can say manifesting, but we put very strategic plans in place to be where we are right now. And, taking on John Cena it's something that I'm prepared for right now. No one's told me this is going to happen. But again, no one told me that I was going to be debuting on NXT until the day before. You know what I mean? So I'm just preparing for it. I'm giving it everything I got. I'm in a situation. Carry on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm in a situation where we're having historic collaboration between TNA Wrestling and WWE. We're in a situation where TNA Wrestling have worked it out with WWE, where I can appear on TNA Wrestling as a contracted talent. I can appear on NXT, and I can train at the Performance Center full time and do indies and do signings. This is unprecedented. It's never been done before in the business. So thank you to TNA and WWE for figuring it out.
Yeah, and I want to thank TNA for making this happen here for us today. Certainly appreciate that. I'm glad to see that it's going in that direction, because I looked it up, and I thought this was the case. In the last month, you've appeared for TNA, NXT, in addition to appearing in promotions for Raw and SmackDown, Burning Heart, CPW, North Wrestling, Discovery Wrestling. While, I see that and I go, what's the closest thing when like Gargano and Samoa Joe are first showing up in NXT and doing both things? But this is two major promotions, major televised promotions that have decades of experience and decades of television behind them, and you're doing this. And the fact that you said like you only knew the day before, does it make it that much more special? Does it kind of keep you in the moment more when you don't know as much?
My viewpoint is you can only do your best with the knowledge that you have at the time. So I just prepare. I have no ego when it comes to getting better. That's why I'm training at the Performance Center, So I feel like I'm never just going to rest on the skills that I've got. I'm always trying to build to something more. And I'm very grateful to TNA Wrestling for giving me the opportunity to do that. I think I'm collaborating really well with management, and I think we're putting ourselves in a position to do historic business for TNA. And my focus is there's so much going on. There's been no time to overthink it. I haven't had a single day off since April. So right now it's just you got to smash whatever's next. And what's next is TNA Wrestling in Tampa, Florida, at the Florida State Fairgrounds. That's what I'm focused on, and that's where I want to see the fans next.
And I saw that, promoted that, and I see your head's on there, and it feels like I see your head everywhere right now. But if they put
Yeah.
your head on something, people are going to show up. So Tampa this weekend for the next set of Impact tapings. Make sure you're there in Tampa, Florida. You're staying pretty active in Florida, including last night. Now, Gallus stops the concert before we can get an encore. Next week, you get your chance at Joe Coffin NXT. I saw what you said after the show last night. But for those who don't know, this has been going on for a decade between you and Coffee. Now that it's happening in NXT, how is this different?
I think that, look, we have to be realistic and we have to be honest and we have to say we're dealing with top talents here. If you look at the representation that Scotland has in major promotions, it's unbelievable. Scotland has a population that is a sixth of that of Texas, So it's like, you're talking about a very small country which has, you've got Drew, you've got Mark Coffey, you've got Joe Coffey, you've got Wolfgang, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, Piper Niven, myself. I think I may have mentioned,
Nikki.
Someone you may know called Drew McIntyre. I can't remember if I mentioned at the start. There's Nikki Cross as well. And again, there's Killian Dane, who isn't Scottish himself, but he lived in Scotland. He was a part of the Scottish scene. So we had something pretty special going on.
I've noticed that the Australian talent has that same. There's a bond there where they root for each other, and I've seen. Piper was talking to Drew when they were.
Let me just stop you right there. Right? Hey, Australia is an awesome country for professional wrestling. I went out there and we wrestled in Wagga for TNA wrestling. It was unbelievable. But you know what? I think if you stack up Team Scotland versus Team Australia, I'm feeling pretty good. That said, I will say Steph DeLander is one of my favorite wrestlers in the business. So who knows?
Listen, there's a whole TNA's done the World Cup in the past with all the crossover and stuff going on. Why not? I think you kind of just start some there with Australia, and I think they'd be willing to respond. They have a few people doing quite well right now.
Australia kicked my ass in the Commonwealth Games, so I'm in no position to talk. So there you
go. As we talked though about Joe, now that you get to do it here in NXT and with this partnership with WWE and TNA, and I went back and looked. And by the way, I had a lot of red lines under your videos from ICW because I have been watching for quite some time. I have believed for quite some time. You and Grado, and when Drew went back, you guys all turned me on to ICW, and look what that turned into. But when you look back on everything you've done with Joe, now that you bring it to NXT, what's going to be the same? What has felt the same about it, and what's felt completely different?
I think you can. I don't know. There were a couple of Scottish references in the promo from Joe yesterday and the song that I did. So anyone who's been following both their careers for the last 10, 11 years will have, there's a few nods in there, which I think the fans would enjoy. I think that, Gallus are in the position that they're in for a reason. They're, I think they have a lot of experience, especially in TV wrestling. I will say though, I think it's got to be a little bit of a shock for them to see me come in as a completely different wrestler. Because don't get me wrong, we had a hot act going in Scotland, but I'm one of the most talked about guys in professional wrestling right now.
Yep.
So when I first got into the business, Gallus were already, not as a unit, but they were already established before I even set foot in the pro wrestling training school. But now, sorry guys, I'm the one they're talking about. So that's probably got to be a little jarring for them. But you know what? The truth hurts.
We'll see what happens with them next week on Great American Bash Night 2, of course. NXT on Tuesday nights on USA Network. I'd like to ask you about Shawn Michaels. He has posted about you. He's clearly a very big fan. What piece of advice, or maybe just something said in general conversation, what's been the best thing that Shawn has said to you so far?
I had a long conversation with Shawn Michaels last night. The mentorship from Shawn Michaels has been unbelievable. And this is why this collaboration between TNA Wrestling and NXT is so good, because everybody wins. I win because I get, this amazing coaching and mentorship from Shawn Michaels and Matt Bloom and Teddy Taylor and Johnny Russo. And, I've been working closely with Jim Smallman as well in my creative. It's been an awesome opportunity for me. It's great for the wrestlers because we get, you know, this exposed to this new audience. The NXT wrestlers get to work with new experienced talent that they haven't been in the ring with before. The everybody wins from a ratings perspective. You know, NXT's ratings get a boost. If you look at the videos that I'm in, if you look on WWE's YouTube channel, you know, I'm doing great numbers for them. You know, I feel like, honestly, I feel like I'm doing great business for both companies. If you look at TNA ticket sales, we sold out in Philadelphia, Chicago, and Montreal back to back to back. It's historic business for both companies. But for me personally, from like a training perspective, um, Sean's given me a huge opportunity, and Sean said, "Hey, this door is open. If you want to train at the performance center, we're going to open that door." And I was like, "Let's do it." And I says, "You know, give me a week to sort out my real life stuff back home in Scotland, and let's go." And then I said yes. We figured it out. So right now I'm training at the performance center and I'm here in Orlando, and I'm getting this amazing opportunity to learn from, you know, let's be honest, the greatest in-ring performer of all time. And the fact that Sean takes the time he sees something in me that he wants to help me build and grow, it just makes me want to do an even better job for TNA Wrestling and WWE. It makes me want to do great business for both companies.
Are you considering a full-time move to the U.S. with all this going on?
That would be, you know, that's a contractual situation with my management that I won't get into right now. But you know, anything is possible at this point. I thought I was going to be in NXT for one day. You know what I mean? So who knows? Who
You're
knows?
just rolling with it pretty much right now.
I'm just rolling with it. But here's the thing. I'm contracted to TNA Wrestling, and my
Mhm.
job is to represent TNA in the best way that I can. And I feel like I'm in a position to, like I say, do great business for the company, bring eyes to the product, and I'm very fortunate to be in that position. TNA are putting a lot of trust in me right now, and
Mhm.
I am looking to show that trust is well placed and do great business for the company. And it's exciting to see our ticket sales go up and, you know, the buzz around us grow. So very happy to be on the team. And we've got an amazing locker room at TNA, and you know, NXT is an amazing locker room too. I'm very fortunate that I get to be in two very positive locker rooms right now. It's awesome.
And I would think that you're pretty well accepted because of what you're bringing to the table, because the ratings are up, because ticket sales are up. And I know it's a team effort, but are people pitching you like, hey, make a song about me or anything like that? Do people want to be part of the Joe Hendry experience any way they can?
The ones who really get it are. The ones
Mhm.
who don't get it get offended.
That's crazy to me because if you're saying somebody's name right, if you're saying somebody's name right now, they're getting the Joe Hendry experience. They're getting that rub off it, and I've dealt with those kind of people you're talking about. I can't believe they ran me down, but they ran you down, and they're a much bigger name than you, or they're popular right now. Are you surprised that that's still happening, or do you feel like that's jealousy?
It happens very rarely. I won't. So there's a few I won't reveal. I will reveal one. One of them is AJ Francis, giant crybaby. Giant crybaby. Genuinely believes he is the sole reason for my success. He is a factor. My feud with him is certainly a factor in all this, but it is one of 10 factors, whereas he thinks it's binary. There's no AJ Francis, no Joe Hendry. That's what he believes. Google Trends would beg to differ, but you know, why let facts and statistics get in the way of an AJ Francis narrative, if you will? I have to say, I will say this, and I always do. AJ Francis is better than people think he is. He gets people's attention. He's better in ring than people think he is. He's the perfect person for me to feud with. And it hurts to put him over because he is just a disaster of a human being. But you know, that's it. I like AJ, but I also hate him at the same time. It's very strange.
After what you do with AJ and the Digital Media Championship, and I know exactly what you're saying. He's quite the businessman. He knows how to keep himself out there. But you end up,
Well, he is the businessman, but on the same token, at the same time, we do need to have an intervention and have someone just take his phone. In the
Yeah.
same way that, there's certain people who just should have a designated driver. AJ Francis should have a box, like he should have someone that has a box where his phone goes in and it gets locked so he can't post cringy things on social media.
Some people
That's
just try
that's
to
what he
tweet through
needs.
it. That's the problem. They just
Yeah,
try to
that's
tweet
that's the
through it
issue.
and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
put the lock on after 10 o'clock.
That's
That's
it.
all.
That's it.
Um, you had done the stuff with AJ in the Digital Media Championship at TNA. You end up in the six-pack challenge, the six-way at Slammiversary. You pin Moose, first person in 2 years. People were starting to believe, and then Josh Alexander does what he does. He kicks you low. He eliminates you. And the crowd reaction, while you don't come out, out of that match as the champion, what did you feel about that crowd reaction? Because I thought it was very telling the way the crowd reacted. A sold-out crowd, by the way.
Yeah. Sold out crowd. The fans want me to be champion. Everybody in the back knows I should be champion, but I'm not the champion. So it is what it is. I've never been the guy who has got everything. First time I've had to scratch and claw for everything that I had when I was doing amateur wrestling. Everybody told me, "Oh, you can't do it at 26 years old. That's too late to start a sport." I said, "Watch me." I had to lose the British Championship, like, 3 or 4 times before I eventually won it. 2 back to back, represented Scotland at the Commonwealth Games. People told me, "Oh, Joe Hendry, he can't. He's got a bad physique." Sorted my physique out, got a good physique. "Oh, he can't. You know what? His gimmick's great, but he can't do it. He can't get over in America." Got over in America. "Oh, his gimmick won't work on TV. Can't do it." Got it over with original songs. Just people keep criticizing me, but here's the thing: I'm a student of the game, so I'm looking to improve myself in all areas at all time. I have a huge ego, but I have no ego when it comes to getting better.
You got to listen to get better. That's how it goes. And when you're doing it at the Performance Center, anybody around you, I know you've gotten that from TNA as well. Think of all the people that you're around there.
I'm working with Terry Taylor every day, pretty much. I'm working in their promo classes. Like I'm doing NXT. I'm doing I'm learning from the dietitians and the personal trainers, really dialing in on that next level. That's what I'm trying to reach, is that next level. So just to be the best wrestler I can be and do great business and continue to do great business for TNA Wrestling.
For the last decade, you've had promotions such as ICW post your stuff or TNA post your stuff. And for the most part, though, I know this process. I know how it is. You still got to be a self-promoter. You still got to make sure you're out there and you're tapped into everything that's going on. But what is it like now that you've had the WWE machine, especially that social media machine, and how good they are behind you?
It's been awesome. It's been I've learned a lot from the last 3 months and even from the last month as well. It's like I say, it's an arrangement where everybody wins. The NXT locker room wins with the opportunities they get at TNA. Our wrestlers win with the opportunities that we get. It's the fans win because it's exciting. Both companies win because business is up. It's a great time and it's a great collaboration. I'm grateful for it.
Booker T got a shout out in last night's concert, and quite a great look for him. To me, that was like he got part of the Joe Hendry experience I've known for the last decade. Did you get a direct response from him yet?
I have not got a direct response from him yet, but his silence, during, man, I'm just looking at social media here. You already got that out there. Joe Hendry calls AJ Francis a disaster of a human being. There you go. I've just
we got a good team here, just like you have a good team.
You got good people working for it. So I look forward to the barrage of comments from him later, telling me, you know what, I'm too tired to like sugarcoat it. I just can't right now. But I look forward to the barrage of tweets about how no one cared about Joe Hendry until AJ Francis came. I look forward to that. But sorry, what was the question?
Well, Booker, you said Booker? I asked if he got a direct response from you because we're going to put that up here as well. I'm going to try and get that on Twitter too.
I'll get back to AJ Francis I'll aim to get back to him in 3 to 5 working days. That is, I will delegate my response to AJ Francis to Booker T, because Booker T is now the new president of the Joe Hendry fan club. In fact, I can see Booker T is hosting Twitter Spaces right now, so I might jump on that after this. to
We'll
the
let you get in there
centimeter.
soon. I want to get his response. Hopefully he sees this. Because Booker will. I know Booker will. You name dropped Dutch Mantel last night. He was
Yeah.
recently showed your entrance music on his show, and within seconds
Yeah.
he said, I kind of believe in him now, too. I
All
think you
right.
can now add him to the legendary list of believers, JBL,
Yeah.
Mark Henry, Bubba Dudley,
Yeah.
Booker T. Are you trying to heal the wrestling community?
I'm not trying, but you know, if you want to give me that moniker, the healer of the wrestling community, I'll take it.
You're doing a great. You have galvanized everybody likes you, which is not a thing in wrestling, like across the
No, they
board.
don't. They trust me. Everybody hates me, bro. Everybody
They,
hates me
we
in
don't
real
count
life.
them. We don't count them. I just see. I'll tell you this quick anecdote real quickly. My daughter saw me, watching NXT recently, or her clip of you, and she loves the song. She's 5 years old. Her name is Penny, and now it's in the rotation along with like Taylor Swift and who I know you had a little rivalry with her as well, but
Yeah, I
you're
won.
connecting with a 5-year-old. My fiance's like, I don't know who that guy is, but that song's a bop. I hear that. Jamal Williams from the Saints, who was a big Hard Knock star a couple weeks, he stops
Yeah.
and jumps in the Saints TikTok. Like, I know this song is 5 years old. I know that you went back to your original blonde hair color to even put it out a second video. What has that been like to see it kind of branch out into pop culture?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been those are some of my favorite moments when you see families enjoying the song. It's moments like that that kind of remind you what it's all about. We have our selfish moments as performers where you think, well, I want to do this and I want to do that, but actually, when you realize the positive impact that you can have, and yeah, at the end of the day, life is really hard right now. The world, like, it's not easy. It's tough for families to go out there and make a living and to make it work, and so our job is to, through all the difficulties of life, is to give families, a bit of a break and fun, and just to forget about all of our problems for a second. So if you can create something that gives families, like, even just a moment of fun and enjoyment, you realize that is actually the value of what you're doing. And the more I try to step outside of myself and say, okay, instead of what can the business do for me, what can I do for the fans of the business? Good things just tend to happen. I find the less all have,
Ugh.
we can all find ourselves becoming a little selfish with our intentions and our goals. But seeing those clips and those moments allow me to reset, and think like, that's what it's about.
I want to let you go in just a little bit here, but everybody, you mentioned being selfish. Everybody these days seems to have some kind of help or backup in WWE or TNA. The wrestling world, it seems like you got to have something. Will Joe Hendry remain a solo act?
Listen, I've always been. I mean, I've had like kind of tag partners. I was in a group once, but I'm primarily a solo wrestler. I will say this though. Matt and Jeff Hardy seem to really believe in Joe Hendry. So never say never. I'd quite like to see the Hardy boys and the Hendry boy collaborate. I think we could have some real fun there. I think that would be awesome.
I
So
just started
yeah,
thinking about Matt's wife on the piano and you there with now and Jeff playing his music. Like is there an album
possibilities.
coming, by the way?
It
Just in.
could. Hey, it's like I say, right? You got to go where the wind's taking you, and the wind is taking me to focus on my in-ring professional wrestling right now. But of course, in the future, there's time to do concerts and albums and things like that. But right now, I got to do my best to be the best representative for TNA wrestling I can, and that means performing well in TNA wrestling, giving my all every single time, and it means representing TNA well on NXT as well, and doing the best job I can for WWE as well.
Everybody can see you this weekend. Head to the Tampa, Florida tapings for TNA, for Impact. Go see Joe. It is an experience, believe me. And make sure you're watching him on NXT. You'll see him against Joe Coffey next week on NXT on USA Network as part of the Great American Bash. Joe, one more before we let you go. I know you've talked about matches that you say are going to happen. Do you have, if you get a chance to kind of sit in it for a second, do you have any specific goals for yourself in this WWE and TNA partnership?
I believe I will wrestle John Cena.
That's all we need to know. That's a goal that I think everybody wants to believe in. And Joe, we believe in you. Continued success. Thank you for making some time for us today. And I know it's been a very busy schedule. When you can get some rest, get it. But look forward to seeing more of your success and that match against John Cena.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
You go. Joe Hendry joining us on the wrestling mat. We will be back with more. Just getting started on the wrestling mat right after this. And there it is, Joe Hendry joining us, but we have plenty more show to go. Didn't get a ton of time with Joe because he's a busy man, but we appreciate him for joining us here today, and I really appreciate everybody at TNA Wrestling for making that happen. Thank you very much for helping get Joe on the wrestling mat today. For those of you that are with us, thewrestlingmatshow.com is where you can subscribe if you have not done so yet, because we got a lot going on there, and we continue to have a lot going on. As you just saw, if you become part of our membership, 3 tiers, starting at just $2.99, you can watch SummerSlam with me this Saturday right here at thewrestlingmatshow.com. Go there, check out our community. We're talking to everybody. That's what we're watching on Saturday. If you remember, you sign up at any level, and it starts at just $2.99. You can watch SummerSlam with me here on the wrestling mat. 7 matches, all singles matches right now. Who knows? By this time next year, we could be promoting a Joe Hendry SummerSlam match. I'm not doubting that, man. No one should doubt them either. And listen, I'm happy that Joe, for as busy as he was and has been, was able to make some time for us here today. That is a man who gets it, who keeps his connection with the people. How much have I talked about that lately with people like a Cody Rhodes, where, you know what? If you're slapping hands, if you're responding to people, if you're showing people that, you know what, it pays to be a fan of me, they're going to stick with you. And that is what Joe Hendry, I know people have made that mistake. That is what he's galvanizing right now. That guy is very confident. He knows exactly what he's doing. I went back and I looked at his YouTube and I saw so much stuff I had already watched, because I remember watching Joe Hendry, and I wish I had more time to talk to him about him in ICW. And for those that don't know, Insane Championship Wrestling in Europe, Scotland, you know, they had a lot going there. And Joe was a big part of that, and his parody songs, and he did one for Drew McIntyre. I implore you to go check that out when this show is over. Go to ICW's page. Just type in Joe Hendry ICW. You're going to get so many of those, and that was just the start of Joe. When he had red hair. When he kind of looked like me, very honestly. I saw it this morning. I was like, oh, yeah, now he's got the look now with the blonde hair. And that theme music that he has now, he used that in Ring of Honor. It was a completely different music video. Not completely different, very similar, but he looked different. You're going to be a bigger fan of Joe Hendry if you go to his YouTube page and watch everything he's done. He recently wrestled Elijah, the former Elias. What an obvious pairing there. Did a parody song about him. He's had to do original music, and, you know, how he's been able to turn things around with that and be able to think what he did with Yuya, who's now in the G1 in TNA. And if you didn't see that, man, what a great partnership that was. And that kind of started to say his name, and he would pop out from somewhere. Joe very much gets what wrestling is supposed to be. The reason everybody's talking about Joe Hendry right now is not about what he's doing in the ring. And he could back that up, believe me. And he's talked about his physique. It has improved. He is a bigger dude. He has tightened things up. And I know that does matter. I know that it's a cosmetic business. Joe's connecting with people because we are enjoying him. It's fun. There's laughter. It's not that serious. But you know what? When you get that many people on board, things like what happened at Slammiversary happened. Things like Joe showing up in NXT. Think of the 2 times people wanted Joe to get to the top. First, he shows up in the Battle Royal. He gets promo time. Nobody else did. He goes in there, he gets eliminated. Everybody was pissed. Why? You wanted to see more of him. But it left you wanting more. And now you're getting more. Slammiversary. He got the second most important pin in that match. He pinned Moose. He took out the world champ. That sold-out crowd wanted to see Joe win. They got a taste. They didn't get all of it. You pull it back. Now he's going to have a feud with Josh Alexander. Yeah, and at some point, Joe Hendry should and will be the TNA champion. And I wouldn't rule out him being the NXT champion. I think when we saw Ethan Page win a couple of weeks ago, And this is not a knock on Ethan. This just shows how strong of a following Joe has. We saw the white background. We saw Joe, and that's what people were talking about. I talked to Nick Nemeth about this the other day. People asked him about this on Busted Open in phone calls. He's a babyface. People like him. I'm happy to see him as TNA heavyweight champion, but more people, and I don't think I'm talking out of turn. More people wanted to see Joe Hendry win that title. It wasn't his time. But Joe was somewhere else in the card not that long ago. He's talked about how much has happened in the last 4 months. Joe was somewhere else in the card. He was not in the main event. He worked his way into the main event, and now he's probably going to stay up there. And he's going to stay up there in NXT. I believe that. I believe that, and that's not a pun. What we're seeing from Joe Hendry right now is an initially organic galvanization of his fan base. And it's growing. And it's reaching out beyond wrestling to kids, to football players, to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I know I've said, hey, these things have happened before. Sometimes they get run into the ground. I think Joe's smarter than that. I think Joe knows how to evolve. And I think while some people have not seen what Joe Hendry is, and he gets to keep showing them that, he's not going to be set in his ways. And if you are anybody trying to come up in the business, anybody at all, Joe Hendry is somebody you should be following very closely. And if we continue to see Joe succeed, there will be other people that try similar things. Nerdy Dude 24/7. Thank you for everything you are doing, Matt. And not just for us, but for this channel. You are awesome. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Nerdy Dude, and thank you for subscribing. Jose Martinez, I saw that. Who believes in Joe Hendry? We do. Thank you for your super chat as well. Super chats always get you to the front of the line, and I certainly appreciate the support. So, Nerdy Dude, thank you for that. Thank you for your member. We will see you on Saturday for SummerSlam. I would love to continue to give people like Joe, people that are willing to come on and put themselves out there, a platform on this channel. I think you guys know I love wrestling. I criticize it. I criticize business practices where I think they should be done. I've seen plenty of those comments lately. But I would love to shoot the shit with people like Joe Hendry as much as we can on this show. And with you guys as well. There's a lot of great comments, and I answered a lot of those comments, whether it be live or whether it be after the fact, and I encourage that. I love the discourse. I love going back and forth. I think we have a pretty good back and forth here with what's been created, and it's not always for clicks, and it's not always to just say stuff to say it like a lot of other shows do. That drives me nuts. But I'm going to call out stuff when I see it, and I'm going to talk about stuff that I really like. Before we get into it, and I know I got to talk about Shane and Tony Khan. I got to do it. Here's someone that I think you should be keeping an eye on if you're not doing so right now. I'll use my platform for him to do this. What Thekla is doing right now in Stardom, and go look her up, the Toxic Spider, the Idol Killer. Go look at what she's doing right now, because she is catching a lot of eyes, and I don't think it will be long before we see her, if she remains in Stardom, pop up in AEW, or pop up at Forbidden Door next year, or pop up at the joint show that they're going to have at the beginning of next year. She's fantastic. She has there is a presence to her that can't be replicated. There is a look to her that just looks like a badass. She knows who she's playing to. She's very in tune with her character. They ran a story recently where she got suspended from 3 shows because she beat somebody up, and it came across so well. I try to keep up as much as I can. There's Stardom, but Thekla's money. Had tagged with Julia, who I think we've seen now announced she'll be over to the U.S. in mid-August. I hope more people get to see her. I see Proof asking, there's a few matches. I don't want to give you one because she's also gone through some transformations. So if anybody else wants to give some recommendations, but anything she's done in the last few months, I think it's not about a match. That's the key. Fair question. To me, that's someone much like Joe. I would tell you to go watch what they're doing, not necessarily the match, because it's the full picture. It's the full package. No one's saying, hey, go watch Joe Hendry at Slammiversary. They're showing you the concert stuff. They're showing you his social media. Just go follow her. Go search out everything she's doing. Someone like that, I guarantee, is going to make a lot of money in the United States over the next year or so. And as WWE is keeping their eyes out on things, and as AEW is, and any company should be, any good talent relations department should be a wide scope. Because I know what's going to come up when I say that, right? Well, WWE does those, tryouts with former athletes, and they do the stuff at the big shows and the NIL. You know what? Yes, they do. You know who came from something like that, although it was different? Big E. I think everybody loves Big E. He played football at Iowa. Go listen to his stories about not being able to watch wrestling growing up because of the household he came up in. And you know what? You're also going to have the Kevin Owens of the world. You're also going to have the Sami Zayns of the world. You're going to have the Baileys of the world, the Sasha Banks, the Mercedes Monets, the Athenas that, yes, went through training, have been into it for a long time, pounded the pavement, working the indies, made towns. It's a mix. It always should be a mix. There's not one answer to who should be recruited. And some of, by the way, these NIL people, you're seeing on television every week. Or some of these people that were recruited because they were former Division I athletes. Creed brothers are like that. I know they're wrestling fans, but that's how they were brought in. Look where they're at right now. The whole D'Angelo family is basically that. It comes up from different places. Nerdy Dude 24/7. I like to see. Oh, yeah. AZM. I'll be like Mercedes there for a second. In the States, what are your opinion on her? She's one of those that I feel like would need more of an introduction. But I'm hoping we see more of Stardom. And there is a working relationship with AEW. That's why Mina came over. I said this when the Mina stuff was going on with Tony and Mariah. More of that should happen more often. And I mean in terms of you just don't introduce them the week before. If they're going to be part of Forbidden Door, have them in the mix sooner. Let's find out who they are. Mina coming over from Stardom, sure, it fits the Forbidden Door format of Stardom versus AEW kind of thing. But she was in the mix sooner, so we learned about her more, so we can get more invested in her, and it became part of the Mariah and Tony story. So I hope that we see more of that. I think right now, with what AEW is doing in Texas, they're going a bit more, lucha-based. There is that fan base down there. I think that stuff kind of makes sense. You lean into where you're at. And we talked about this a lot yesterday because you're playing to a local market to get ticket sales, but you're also playing to a bigger market. You're playing to the domestic American market. You're playing to the international market. All that stuff matters. If you're going to spam in the comments, by the way, you're going away because that's just annoying. Bye-bye. There you go, folks. I took care of that for you. I wonder if there will be a Joe Fowler action. Did you mean Joe Hendry? I don't know. Maybe that was an autocorrect. Joe Hendry is getting a bendy. I have a bendy here. Where's my... There. There is my Vlad bendy. But I saw Joe is getting a bendy. So that's awesome. But Thekla, there is my... I don't do a lot of recommendations on here. There you go. Thekla is somebody you should be keeping an eye on. Okay. Now I'll get to it. 39 minutes. Not bad. 39 minutes to get to this. So about 6 weeks ago, on this show, there was this Shane McMahon AEW talk that popped up. And we ran with it because why not? Let's have some fun fantasy booking. And then recently, as Mercedes posted about in her newsletter, right? I guess that's what it was. that she had a chance meeting with Shane McMahon in an airport. We'll keep that going. And then this morning, a combined report from Wrestle Talk and Fightful. We have the picture? We have the picture, right? I assume we have the picture. Everybody's got the picture. There it is, folks. Leave it up for a second. Let's analyze the shit out of this one. All right, here we go. So apparently, this picture was taken in a meeting at the Arlington airport. That in the corner was the former heir apparent, Shane McMahon. That's Tony Khan. That's the bottle of that Tony always drinks from. Now, one other thing here, as we break this all down. How many cups you count? I count 3. I count 3 cups. Somebody took this picture. Who took this picture? Is it a surprising picture, as Tony Khan's face would show? Is it Shane trying to be caught candidly? I'm completely having fun with this. Let's conspiracy the hell out of this one. Who took this picture? Why is there 3 cups? Did it mean to be a surprise? Whatever it may be. Let's follow it up, though, because just up on Twitter, about 10 minutes ago, Mercedes tweets, LOL, I took that pic with the money emoji picture, money emoji with hashtag AEW. All right. So let's look at this from a couple different ways. I had fun with it too. If you didn't see, I posted the pictures from when Shane did a run-in on the bump, and that was my reaction to today and that news. I broke this down. You can go back, watch in the archives. It's much, much more detailed at thewrestlingmatshow.com about where I thought Shane could fit in AEW. I brought up the idea of him being a backer of the Elite. I brought up the idea of him being maybe aligned with MJF. And this is before MJF had turned heel. Shane in AEW would get a lot of rubbernecking. A lot of people going, wait, what? And I'm not saying that from the people that watch AEW every week. And I'm sure a lot of them, and I've seen some of the comments, would not be happy to see Shane McMahon in AEW. And I think some people who love Shane and who maybe have fond memories of Shane growing up, and maybe not some of the bad memories of, things that happened with Braun Strowman or the Rumble a couple of years ago, or the unfortunate injury he suffered against The Miz at WrestleMania. There would be something to Shane in AEW. Is it a way to get more eyeballs and to keep those eyeballs? Well, that depends on how he's presented. But a McMahon in AEW is interesting. Nerdy dude, I don't think Shane is buying AEW. I think Tony had a business conversation because of negotiations for upcoming deal because I don't know if it's necessarily connected to the negotiations. I don't. Here's what I think. I don't think somebody got into that room with a billionaire and someone who is the son of a billionaire and has lots of money himself, I'm sure. Took a picture, got out of there, and was able to post it. I have a hard time believing that. I think the timing is fantastic. I think the timing, and once again, we're all guessing, unless we're in that room, unless we know what happened. I do think it was a business discussion. I also think staged isn't the right word. Maybe it is. People are talking. And you know what? People are talking as we head into All In. People are talking about AEW as we're heading to All In. What happened last week? I I just thought of something I could talk about. What happened last week? WWE Gorilla Position puts up a tweet. News in a couple hours. Okay. And a few hours later, perfectly posed picture, Nick, Triple H, and the mayor. Here's a nice video that was totally candid of them walking down and having whatever the hell discussion they were having so it could be on camera. And when did they do that? They did that as AEW is ramping up for All In to go back to Wembley. They know what they're doing. I've talked about this. I have people defending WWE in the comments where I once again say, they only care about your money. You don't have to defend them. That's what they do. So you know what? What's a way to steal some of that thunder back? One more time, Dom. Can I have the picture, please? How do you steal thunder back? That hits the internet. That hits the internet on July 31st. That hits the internet on a Wednesday, as we are weeks out from All In. Good. This is just my theory, and that's the fun of this. It's just fun. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if Shane would work in AEW. I don't know what his mindset is. I don't know if he would help. I don't know if he would poison it. Who knows? But it gets people talking. And for everybody out there, it was like, oh, Tony said something dumb again. Or whatever. He went over the top with hyperbole, even though I've talked about how every wrestling promoter that is in existence and that wrestling lives off of hyperbole and everything's for entertainment purposes only. Undertaker was not 7 feet tall. What? It's entertainment. And you know what? If today's picture was put out there to get people talking, good. We can have fun. This is a fun thing to talk about. This isn't ratings garbage. This isn't people trying to figure out a contract between companies and looking. And I've talked about that too. I like the business of wrestling. But when people just throw stuff out there where they go, they'll never hit 1 million again. Cool. Guess what? They're still going to get a TV deal. When I see like that stuff just gets maddening. And, just drags down, and then it becomes the tribalism. This is fun. Here's a picture of Shane McMahon and Tony Khan maybe getting caught by surprise. Who else is in the room? Who took the picture? Let's have fun with this. Let's see what happens on Dynamite. Does it get referenced? Here's another one, and I'm not the only one to say this on Twitter today, or in social media, or on a show. Who's asking Triple H about this on Saturday? Who's going to do it? Who's asking that question? It's not going to be that guy in the chat who can't listen. Trashing my former employers. Did you not just listen to me with Joe Hendry talk up WWE because they deserve to be? Selective listening and selective listening comprehension is a pandemic. It's an epidemic in pro wrestling right now with so many fans. 99% of the people can have pretty good conversation. It's hilarious that people get mad about criticism that's constructive, and it goes both ways. Hey, remember when I said that Blood and Guts didn't have any stakes and it should have, and that was dumb? Yes. Remember when I criticized AEW social media for having the same shorts up for 8 months, and I did that on every show for 3 weeks, and then they fixed them? Selective listening is a problem in the world of wrestling. It's awful. Can we have fun in here? If I call out stuff that is actually happening, and I'm not trashing it, I'm literally pointing out what's going on. And if you can't handle that, I'm sorry. Go to one of the other shows that backs your big company that you love. I love all wrestling. I have friends everywhere. Look, there's Eddie Kingston. There's Macho Man. There's Xavier Woods. Oh my God, they work for different companies. I can't be friends with these people. Oh, there's Danhausen. Oh, there's a WWE Championship that I got from when I worked there. I'm really trashing the company real hard if that stuff's still up. Holy shit. Get your head out of your ass if you're going to talk that way. And that goes for anybody. All right, I'm done with that. What would you like to see from Shane McMahon in AEW? Is he a GM? Is he a wrestler? Is he a manager? Is he a business associate? Is he in creative? Would you care if he's in creative if you don't know what the hell he's doing? Do you want him there at all? Do you like AEW as is? To me, it's wait and see. And that kind of goes with anything in wrestling. There's things you get excited about. I wonder how that would work. Hologram is a great example. Rob said Pete Gas. Did you know that Pete Gas played on the WWE softball team for like years? I found that out when I worked there, which made me so happy. WWE for Life 316. I wish they would go PG. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't want any show to be PG. And I don't say that because blood and stuff and all. I'm saying there are limitations on that are probably more annoying than you realize. Nerdy Dude, please bring Danhausen on the show. I would like to see him. I'm trying. Conversations have been had. Can I just say that? Conversations have been had. I would love to have Danhausen on the show. We've talked about him plenty. Go back and watch some of the things in the back and in the archives, thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Talked about a whole pitch I had for Danhausen if his contract allowed him to be available, and this was between Ring of Honor time and free agency in AEW. Didn't work out. Yes, the Liberty for Life, I'll follow you. If we didn't yet, please let us know. Please tweet me, and then I'll follow you. It's very simple. Does Shane... Do we see more of this soon? I will say, from talking to people that worked with him, in good times and bad times, or whatever you want to say, Shane was ahead of the curve on some things. You know about the UFC stuff. You know, he wanted to buy UFC. I think what NXT became, Shane had some ideas of. How he wanted to modernize how the company handled media. I think there's something to that. Now, listen, and I bring this up for anybody because I go, well, this person has done wrestling for 30 years. They know more than you. Somebody said to me, Cornette and Bischoff have done this longer, so they know more than you. They've done it longer. It doesn't mean they've evolved with the times. You could be good for a short period of time, and you could be shitty for far longer. That doesn't make you good. You have to evolve with the times. Joe Hendry has talked about Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels has evolved with the times. I give him credit for that. Jeff Jarrett has evolved with the times. Ricky Morton has evolved with the times. Terry Funk is the definition of evolving with the times. Think about his entire career and everything. It's why people think he's the greatest. There are errors of Terry Funk that don't match up with other errors because he evolved with the times. Because he looked around and said, okay, this isn't what's working anymore, or this isn't what the fans want. I'll lean into this. Working in Japan, working deathmatch stuff with Cactus Jack, the stuff with Flair, showing up in ECW, being Chainsaw. There's so much there with his. It's a snippet. The people who get it and stick around and don't have to have a grift or don't have to just say stuff for headlines, they stick around for a reason. If you keep comparing stuff, some people bring it up, to 30 years ago, hey, guess what? They didn't have these 30 years ago, or an iPad, or YouTube. Because when they were drawing and all this stuff, there wasn't as much to do in the world. You went to the movies, you went to dinner, you went outside, you went to a sporting event. There were 10 channels. It's a little different now. There's thousands of channels. There's YouTube channels. There's TikTok. The stuff that worked 30 years ago, the stuff that worked 20 years ago. Yes, there are foundational parts of wrestling that should work, always. And I get that. And I agree with that. And you need characters, and you need people to care and invest, and have underdogs, and have heels. Sure. Absolutely. That stuff should always be the basis of wrestling. But I got news for you. A body slam doesn't win matches anymore. I saw Tony D'Angelo win with a spine buster last night. My eyes popped out of my head. But you know what? People were with it. It's different. It evolves with the times. If Shane is evolving with the times, and I don't know if he is or not. I don't know if this is I'll show Dad. I'll go over here. It could absolutely be that. If we find out in 6 months Shane was a mole for Vince, sure, why the hell not? I don't know. Tony, I saw Goldberg say that Tony is Dixie Carter. No, he's not. Has Tony made mistakes? Absolutely. Will he make more? Yes. Tony likes wrestling, though. Tony is successful. And yes, I know that his father's a billionaire, and that sure, when you're born on third base, it helps. Of course it does. But he's not sitting back and collecting the checks. That dude is far busier than he needs to be with how he has been set up in life. I promise you, he's always working hard. You don't always have to agree with what he's doing, but he's always working hard. I promise you that Triple H is working hard to make sure SummerSlam is going to be a good show this weekend. And that his mind is going to be on that. And I know he wants to go home to his wife and his daughters and have that time too. And Tony wants to do that with his family. And he tweets about that. And I appreciate that. But when you care about wrestling that much, it's always on the brain. I don't really believe that Triple H likes to be out in public and make these appearances. He's doing it because they want it to be part of who he is in the company. But that guy has been in wrestling for 30 years. And he's never really been out of wrestling. When he's been out of wrestling, he's been rehabbing his knees, the heart issue he had. To do what? To get back to wrestling. When you're in it, Shawn Michaels, same thing. Loves to have time with his family. He's in wrestling. They think about it a lot. John Cena talks about that. Even if it's not about him. When he was in it, he was always thinking about ways to make it better. If Tony Khan thinks that Shane McMahon can make AEW better, it's a good move. But for Goldberg to compare him to Dixie Carter is nuts. Dixie Carter's dad bought TNA. Panda Energy, funded it, saved it. Please go listen to Jeff Jarrett's podcast about that at some point. He is very detailed and very open about how that went. Dixie did PR. Dixie then moved into a bigger role because her dad owned the company and bankrolled it. She didn't know very much about wrestling. And then she listened to everybody. And yes, I know Tony has a lot of people in his ears. I get that. And I know some people have influenced him, correctly or incorrectly. But it's still his show, and his fingerprints are on the show. And there was a time a few years ago where he had to take it over, and I think it was for the better. And there's ups and downs, and every booker goes through that. There's some bad black and gold stuff. You know who's running the show? Triple H. We know there was some bad Vince stuff. There's also some great Vince stuff. And there's been great Triple H stuff the last couple of years. And there's been great Shawn Michaels stuff. And there's been great Tony Khan stuff. And there was great Eric Bischoff stuff. And there was great Jim Cornette stuff. And there was great Vince Russo stuff. And I could say bad stuff about all those guys too. But it goes like this. That's wrestling booking. It's why they used to change committees. You want to go back in the day? They did used to cycle through. You know what? Let's change it up. And some of that's about business. You're not getting it done later. Or it's dealing with Vince. There's Heyman, then here's Bischoff. Bischoff's gone. All right, Bruce is here now. All right, Paul's out of that spot. Now it's... That stuff happens too, at a whim. Dixie Carter had Eric in her ear, had Hogan in her ear, didn't know wrestling. If Bill didn't like what he heard from Tony, okay. Wrong comparison, though. Wrong. Hassan said, I stopped watching wrestling decades ago. Came back was AEW. What is Shane McMahon now? Is he a wrestler now or a writer? Explain, please. A very fair question. So, Hassan, Shane is not under contract anywhere, as far as I know. Obviously, saw a picture with him and Tony Khan. Shane was a performer in WWE. I think I've told it a little bit. Shane was in the Rumble a couple years ago. Kind of took over booking the whole thing. It was a mess. In the past, Shane has run the WWE media side of things and the website and left the company for a while and sat on boards. You know, went over to China, did stuff there. On-demand stuff. I don't know the exact specifics. You can go look this up. Shane was there to hug Rory McIlroy after he won 2 majors because of whatever board he was on at the time. Shane's done a lot of different things. Shane was the guy they sent over to WCW. Shane has worn many hats. The last time we saw Shane, as we know, was WrestleMania last year, and he got injured. Shane's a big Yankees fan. If you follow his social media, he'll post himself at a sports bar watching the Yankees or hanging out with governors of states that helped keep WWE going through the pandemic, whatever it may be. I don't know what the role would be in AEW. I don't think Shane needs to be in the ring. I think the guy that we saw wrestle Test and Steve Blackman and all that stuff back in the Kane, I don't think that's the same guy anymore. Nor would he be. That was a long time ago. It's 25 years ago. And that's fine. I don't expect him to be. But what would he bring to the table? Maybe we'll find out soon. If it's a PR stunt, if it was staged. Hey, listen. There's a reason Fast Nationals get leaked when it works in WWE's favor. Or that they fed out the Raw rating. And the talking points of it did better than the Olympics, which is the same company that pays them. I don't know why that got out there, but they made a point to say that. And moved to Sci-Fi. We did 1.4 million viewers, and the demo was great. And it was. Good for them. Should be. It's a go-home show. I was happy to see that. I was happy to see that they had a high demo because I thought the rating would be down. I was happy to see it for the performers that, as I said yesterday, because I still believe this, and I talked to somebody today about this. SummerSlam doesn't feel as big because you have so many new things and people and concepts and ideas and titles all getting pushed at the same time, which is good for the future of the company. And believe me, I'm not going to bitch about that because, God, how many years did we go, please start building new people. Please start. Yesterday, not yesterday. Well, yeah, it was yesterday because I recorded it. If you're in our membership tiers, you're getting, if you're in the mid-card level or higher, you're getting my top 5 SummerSlam matches, main event matches, and the worst 5 SummerSlam main event matches. You're getting that. And little snippet there, I talked about Brock and Roman. and how they went back to it at SummerSlam 2022 and how people groaned about it. Me included, and I fucking worked there at the time. And then they had a great match. But it was still like, again? Roman and Brock at that WrestleMania, again? And what do we see on the card? Braun Breaker, probably going to become Intercontinental Champion. Sami Zayn's established. I'm not talking about Sami. Gunther, probably going to be World Heavyweight Champion on Saturday against a first-time champion in Damian Priest. I joked that Logan Paul and LA Knight might have the most established match on the card in terms of what we know they are. Cody. You know what Cody is. Solo Sikoa is all of a sudden a singles guy, which he wasn't. Hadn't won in forever. That might be the main event of the show. Drew and Punk is very well established. Rhea Liv, fairly established, but this is Liv's first run as a heel. There's a lot of stuff going on that card that is good for the future, but it also doesn't feel big right now. And those moments could come through. Yeah, Roman could absolutely come back on Saturday. And I honestly think people would be disappointed if he didn't. So there's a lot of that stuff building looking ahead, and that is a good thing. I'm happy about that. It's what the company needs. You need to have stars. You need to build for the future. We're seeing developmental on TV every week. Now, is it all about developmental? Is it all about getting ready for October when they move to the CW and pushing? Oh, you know what? Jordan Grace is working. We're going to stick with that. Oh, here's Ethan Page. He just signed. He's our champ. Here's Joe Hendry. This shit's over. We're gonna push that. Also, we have Trick Williams. Also, we have Roxanne. Javon Evans. Look how fast he shot to the top NXT. Good. But you got a lot of other people there that have been there that also need reps and need to work and need to get better and figure out where they land. It's always tough, and it's been different the last couple of years. When you book WrestleMania, I have compared it for years to the All-Star game. Not what it used to be. It's become more of the All-Star game. Now, the last couple of years, the legends have taken more of a backseat. They're there, but it's not about them as much. Sure, we saw Trish and Lito wrestle last year. It was in the middle of the card. And it led to Becky and Trish, which ended up having a good payoff in the end with the cage match. And it got Zoe involved in that, sure. This year, listen, I know Endeavor, TKO, let's make it as big as possible. Let's put Vince in the rearview mirror. Here's The Rock. Here's John Cena. Here's The Undertaker. Have it be as pro wrestling as possible. And here's all the big names. Then, now, forever. Let's celebrate Cody at the end. Let's give him the rub of all those guys. Sure. But it's still looking to the future. Still looking ahead. Where are we going? Who's on the billboard next year? Who's main eventing in the future? So SummerSlam has hit a spot. And this happened in the 90s, too, when they tried to move on from Hogan. All right, here's Shawn. Here's Brett. Here's Diesel. We're going to try with some other people. It's not going to work as well. And go look back then. Go look at some of the buildings they ran. Go look at some of the buy rates. Go look at some of the attendance numbers. They're not great. Now, you might look back on them differently because you got Shawn was my guy. Brett was my guy. I was a big Nash fan. I was a big Razor fan. But doesn't mean they were drawing big money. Doesn't mean they were drawing big, but they were rebuilding. They were repositioning things. It happens in wrestling. The goal is to not have to worry about that. Is to develop while other things are going on top. Develop underneath so you can move people up. When they move on, those move up. And you have the next, you want that to be the case. It's like any sports team. Football teams do this a lot. They blow it up. Well, salary cap's a mess. We got to pay for and I know this is multiple sports you could talk about. Baseball deadline just happened, right? For those that, I know we have a lot of international people here. I don't know what it would be called over there, the equivalent. Someone can tell me. Yesterday in baseball, basically any trades that were going to happen, I guess it would be like a transfer window perhaps. Any trades that were going to happen in baseball had to happen for the majority yesterday. So it's teams deciding we're in the playoff hunt. We have a chance to win a championship. We're going to make a run. Transfer deadline. Rob just said it. We're going to make a run. So we're in the playoffs. We're a great team. We think we can get better. We're going to go get a pitcher. We're going to go get a good hitter. You know, we're close there. We need to make a push. We think we can do it if we get one more player. We're going to go make them deal for that person. And then there's the teams that are maybe close and don't think they have enough to really make a run, and they go, okay, we're going to get rid of our higher-priced veteran players, and we're going to build for the future, and we're going to go trade for younger guys on other teams, and we're going to develop them. As a fan and as a promotion, you never want to get caught in that spot where you're kind of starting fresh and you don't have anybody you can rely on. John Cena did a lot of years where he was the guy, and yeah, they maybe should have built better, but also it was a lot of transition, and they didn't have those people, and some people hit and some people missed. WWE is in a spot right now where you have a Cody Rhodes, and you have a Drew McIntyre, and you have a CM Punk. And those are big names, but you want your Gunthers to hit. You want your Damian Priest to hit. You want your Rhea Ripley's to hit even bigger now as baby faces. You're going to bring Roman back probably soon as a baby face. But how much time is he going to stick around? How much time is CM Punk going to be an active performer? You know, when AEW started, what did they get? Who did they get early? Besides the Bucks and Cody and Hangman, they got Chris Jericho because he had name value. And he could work. And you could put the title on him, and people knew who the hell he was. And then they signed Moxley, and people knew him as Dean Ambrose. And then they get Adam Cole, and they get Danielson, they get Claudio. But you also have Hangman. You also have MJF. You also have Britt Baker. You also have Hikaru Shida. Riho. It's a mix. You have Darby Allin. You have Orange Cassidy. You want that mix, and you want people to move up in the world, and, you know, when Jericho's is where he is at now, and this is, we know, moving down. How do you replace that? Who's going to take that main event spot? That's why I talk about Montez Ford. Don't miss the window on Montez. This is a great time to get him going. And Montez is not on SummerSlam this weekend. He's doing a meet and greet, not on SummerSlam this weekend. Jey Uso, not on SummerSlam this weekend. What? Kind of wild. 7 matches, all singles, still a lot of time. 3 hours of, sorry, I yelled on that one. 3-hour kickoff show or countdown show or whatever they call it, the show that's on before the pay-per-view. 3 hours this weekend. We are not watching that shit. I'll tell you that right now. This watch-along, watch party, whatever you want to call it, if you're going to be a member, we'd love to have you. If you get in there now at the base level, starting at $2.99 or any level, you can watch SummerSlam with us this weekend. We ain't watching that pre-show. Don't worry. Because I saw it. I've seen the screen cap. It's marked down for 8 hours on Peacock. 8 hours. 3 hours of that countdown show. And then more on the back end. And the press conference stuff. Which admittedly I thought they did the best job of with last show. They did a really good job with that. I loved it. It's what it should be. 8 hours. After Triple H made that joke and was actually referencing his own company, not AEW, and was like, I'm not talking about them. I've been on the long shows before. 3-hour pregame show. Which happens to start at 5 o'clock. Ooh, didn't AEW move Collision back to 5 o'clock? Yes, I know they did. Take that for what you will. Take that for what you will. 3 hours. 3. It's Raw, but talking. No, they haven't had a match on a countdown show in I don't know how long. Maybe that will. It's 3 hours. They should have 1 or 2. Get some people on the card. I know they don't want the stadium to look empty, so that's part of it. I have a weird idea. I'm gonna throw this out there right now. If you don't want to show, and I know they put E on the ladder last month, so they don't mind showing it. If you don't want to show an empty arena that's still filling up, what if they put a ring next to the set outside? And I know logistically, I'm just throwing this out there. It may not be the easiest thing to do. You have a bunch of fans outside. You have a bunch of fans that like to sit behind Jackie and Wade and E, and if Cole's doing an hour or two, whatever. Why you can't have a mat, you're at a stadium, you can't set a ring up outside and do some matches there? Like think about that. It's got kind of that, when they did the public workouts in Times Square with Mike Tyson, things like that, or even, like I said, I love a different locale. I love a different feel to what. Couldn't put a ring outside. If you're doing a 3-hour countdown show, you can't put a ring outside and throw to that action and have fans who are coming in see. If they would stop, and you stop it, by the way, with a half hour to go, with 45. You want the stadium to fill up. You can't put something out there if you're going to do this long of a show and make it a big deal. I'm all about the college game day atmosphere. I talked about how we were supposed to do that with the bump. That year, when they did the PC Mania, we were supposed to do 5 episodes in Tampa. And I think the next year we were also supposed to go to Tampa when it was back at Raymond James, and we didn't. But the idea was put the show outside in the morning, hype people up, get that college game day atmosphere. Lee Finning came from football. They do right. They kick field goals with McAfee. You can do something like that outside if you're going to do that long of a show. 3 hours of people and showing up. Maybe they'll set up a match or something. Oof. That's a long time. That's a lot of time to watch. And I know nobody's going to watch the whole thing. Maybe there will be. And then go into the actual second biggest show of the year. Nerdy dude. Genuine question. Which roster has the better women's division right now? Raw or SmackDown? Raw. And that's Rhea, Liv, Zelina, Damage Control, Shayna, Zoe, Sonya, Dancing Girls, Lyra. SmackDown's Bayley, Nia, Naomi, Chelsea, Piper, Candice, Indy. Who am I missing? Oof. Jade, Bianca. I lean SmackDown. But there's 4 women on the show right now. They're both in title matches. That's it. Jade and Bianca are wrestling on Friday on SmackDown against Alba and Isla, who defended last night against Jakara and oh my God, I'm totally blanking on her name. Oh my goodness, Lash. Sorry, that's it. They won last night. Bianca and Jade are not on SummerSlam. What? That's got to be like, how are they not on SummerSlam? How are Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill not on SummerSlam? Sure, they're working the night before. Great. What am I missing there? It's almost like the tag titles don't matter that much. Because they don't. They don't matter much in any company. I saw the stat. The Bucks haven't defended those tag titles like 100 days. That's a whole, please, archives. Tag team wrestling's a mess. Bianca and Jade not being on SummerSlam. Wild to me. We'll talk more about that on Friday. Full SummerSlam preview coming your way. Tomorrow on this show, we moved it around a little bit. We'll talk about Dynamite. I'm excited to watch Hangman and Darby tonight. We'll see what Mariah says to Renee. Tony Storm's promo in the ring this weekend is worth going to find. It is so good. It is such a good piece of business to build the story. The way she delivers it is fantastic. She is this maniacal, looking for revenge, off her whatever, rocker in the best way possible, champion who might get blinded by, and then the idea to me is she gets blinded by all that and Mariah beats her. Now, that's tomorrow. We're also going to talk Brawl Out tomorrow. The reaction within WWE when Brawl Out happened. It's going to be a lot about CM Punk, I'll tell you that right now. And it will connect to CM Punk coming back to the company and what I thought about when that happened. We're going to preview SummerSlam in full tomorrow. But if you want to watch SummerSlam with me, you got to head over to thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Or right below, if you're watching live, there's a join button. You can become a member. Starting at just $2.99, 3 tiers, right above Todd, the mid-card, or the Matt event. Become a Matt member. Lots of perks there for you. Lots of things going on. If you are a mid-card or higher member, you got a couple things coming your way in the next few days. But if you're not a member and you want those bonus pieces of content and you want to watch SummerSlam with us here at thewrestlingmatchshow.com, join below if you're watching live or go to thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Check out our memberships. If you have any questions, feel free to send us a message. At the Matt Camp, you can go to me. You can go to WrestlingMatt23 on both Twitter and Instagram. Same names across the board. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. You can post in our community. You can email us, thewrestlingmatchshow@gmail.com. If you have any questions about the memberships, I saw some people asking. Joining is below. Go over to thewrestlingmatchshow.com. But if you have questions, you want to know what's coming up, let us know. We'll help you out. It's the most interactive pro wrestling show out there. Tomorrow, we're going to talk Dynamite. We're going to talk Brawl Out, Fallout, and how it was received in WWE. Friday, full SummerSlam preview. And Saturday, if you're a member, starting at just $2.99 on any tier, you can watch SummerSlam with us. Love to have you. Love to have you tomorrow. Love to have you every day as we are here every single weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Once again, thank you to one of the hottest names in pro wrestling, Joe Hendry, for joining us. Catch him on the Great American Bash next week as he takes on, it's on Sci-Fi. I said USA Network. It is on Sci-Fi next week. As he takes on Joe Coffey in a feud that's been going on for 10 years. If you missed that interview, you can go back and watch it at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Revealed a couple of interesting things on the interview, including where he is spending his time when we don't see him on TV. I don't think he's talked about that very much. That was quite the revealing answer from Joe Hendry. We appreciate him. We appreciate you. If you missed anything from this week, you can go back and watch it at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. I'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern when we'll talk about wrestling even more. See you then, and thanks for watching, everybody.